Yo, hey guys, Bweeks here, back in that video. We're going to be doing an updated crafting guide. So our previous one, we kind of left some stuff out and had a lot of questions on stream, twitch.tv/Bweeks, by the way, and just some questions in some videos and whatnot. So we're going to craft a piece of gear today, talk about everything, and just kind of show you some tips and tricks and general crafting methods. So there's basically two ways to craft gear in the game. You can either craft from the base item all the way up to legendary, or you can find the legendary and craft it backwards, adding the base item or the base stats and all of that. So we have found this helm. This is the Vitalizing Vital Helm of Vitality. So I'm going to use it to replace this helm. What we could do if we're going to craft this all the way up to a legendary, we'd go down to the bottom, we would add legendary effect. This would turn into a legendary, and then we would have a new option that would be Reforge legendary effect, and we'd keep reforging until we got this helm. But in this case, I'm going to go the opposite way because I just find it cheaper than trying to spend 5 of these. There might be points in the game where you don't care as much, or the rest of your item is so good, depending on your crafting, that you're going to add the legendary effect and then roll through it. And every slot has a base amount of legendaries for it, so beforehand you can see what legendaries will actually appear on that item. Some items, such as the cape, currently in the game only have 4 different options. So the cape is like a good one. If you find a cape that if you find a legendary cape but it's not one you want, you can re-roll it like 2 or 3 times and you'll most likely get the one you want. Still RNG. Anyway, today we're going to craft an item from legendary backwards. So we're basically going to add these stats. Before, I think I showed where I did a base item upwards, but we'll do the same thing. Either way, I mean, it works the same way where you put an item in, you add stats to it. So you can either do a common item, make it into a magic item, make it into a rare item, epic, legendary. Every item in the game, like depending on its slot, this helm slot, any helm that drops in the game, I can craft it into my like perfect in-game item. So that's just something to know. But in this case, we're going to go legendary backwards. The first thing to note is we're actually going to look at the legendary. It already has a base stat. Some legendaries will also roll with magic stats or epic stats, so you don't have to add those. I wasn't so lucky, so I'll have to add those manually, which would just cost more materials. That's fine. You can also see the rarity of the item on the left hand side. It says normal legendary helmet, eye level 39. So the level does matter. Depending on the level, you get different stat rolls. So if you want the high stat rolls, you need to upgrade the legendary. To upgrade it, or upgrade the item level, you can scroll to the bottom and there is this update item level. So you can see our current rolls are 178 to 254 and 53 to 76. If we upgrade it, they're going to go higher. So we have 182 to 260 and 55 to 78. When you upgrade the item level, it's going to upgrade it to whatever level you are. So if you're level 35 and you do this, it's going to make your gear level 35. I really don't recommend doing this until you're level 40. So now we can actually start going through the stats and deciding how we want to roll this item. So looking at the stats, I'm just going to take my helm off because it keeps popping up. Try to take it off. There we go. So my current helm, I have armor, max life, projectile damage reduction, and I have some epic stats. So I probably won't roll epic stats here today just because they're really expensive. I'll at least add them, but we'll see what we get. So this has life leech, so I'll have to fix that somewhere else, but that's fine. So when I look at these stats, I'm trying to figure out what I actually want for my build. I definitely want max life. The legendary effect of this item gives me a max life multiplier, so I really want to get life in certain places so I can get that multiplier. Other than that, I have some synergy with armor, so I'll probably go armor as well. And I think in the future I want to use the armor chest, so I'll be going armor and life here. So what I'm going to do is basically look for a decent roll of either armor or life. In this case, it rolls 200 armor out of 260, so I'm just going to re-roll instead of trying to adjust the scores because it's going to use these Slormites of Fate. So you can make all of these Slormites here at the blacksmith on his 3rd tab. So these are just made from combining your normal fragments, magic, rare, epic, legendary. Then we have these special ones. The Fate are 100 common fragments, 50 of those, and so on and so forth. With these other ones, certain ones, cost different things. Like the one that upgrades your item level is 50 epic fragments, so that's kind of expensive, so I don't recommend doing that until you get to max level. So anyway, back to the helm. I'm going to reroll scores until reroll stats until I find either max life or armor that is a pretty decent roll. Alright, so we got max life, but it's on the low end, so I'm just going to keep rolling. Armor, it's still kind of bad. Max life. Alright, that's a perfect max life roll. So in this case, I'm going to lock it in so I can adjust the armor, right? So the main reason you want to upgrade the item level first, if I would have gotten this max life roll on a lower item level, whenever you update the item level, it's going to change the roll, so it wouldn't be perfect anymore. So it's a thing you always want to keep in mind, is upgrade the item level first or you're going to have a bad time. So now I'm going to just reforge the stats until I get armor, and I don't care what the roll is. I still eventually need to reroll all the scores to get my legendary effect up to 18, but currently the max life is locked in. There is nothing I can do to it. I can eventually unlock it if I wanted to, but let's just roll for armor. I'm going to take any armor roll. If it happens to be like a high level one, like this one, I'm going to lock it in as well, so when I look to change the scores of the item, I won't adjust this roll. So 250 and 442, very good, so we're going to lock that in. Next, we don't have any magic stats on the item, so I'm going to add a magic stat. Costs 5 of these Slorm lines, so you'll just get these fragments, or these will drop out in the wild. So you can combine them up if you need to, and then spend them here. So I'm going to add a magic stat. We got percent armor, so I'm going to actually look at the stats and see what I would like. One thing to note is magic stats and rare stats share the same pool of things, so oftentimes I will keep a bad stat in the magic set first because they're cheaper to roll, and I will go ahead and roll the rare stat first. So on my previous helm, I had a combination of percent max life and projectile damage reduction. So I'm going to look at stats I would like here. I will take all damage reduction would be fine. Armor can be okay, but I probably don't want to settle on armor. I'll take flat max life, percent max life, and projectile damage reduction. Those are probably the 4 or 5 that I would keep. So since armor isn't one of those, I'm just going to keep it there. It's basically blocking armor from occurring again. So I'm going to actually go down here and add a rare stat now. So I have a rare stat of flat armor. So we have percent and flat. I don't want either of those, so I'm going to re-roll the rare stat. Rerolling the rare stat is more expensive just because rares are harder to find in the game. So I'm going to go ahead and reroll this to try to get 1 out of those 5 I want, instead of minusing 1 of the things I want in the magic stat, and I can only roll a 1 and 4. So I'm just going to roll here until I find something I want. Projectile damage reduction. This is something I had on the previous item. I like this stat for just my current build, so I'm going to keep that. Now I'm going to go back to the magic stat. Since this is the cheaper one to roll, I'm going to roll it more so I can hopefully get either flat max life or percent max life, because that's what I want at this point. Alright, we got flat max life. So both these rolls are terrible, but that's okay. We can fix that. So our base stats are locked in. We don't have to worry about that. We actually have the lowest roll for the magic stat for the max life, and our rare stat is pretty low. So I'm gonna just go ahead and add an epic stat here just to see what I can get. So there we go, add epic stat. We got elite damage reduction, projectile speed, Slorm fine. So all these are terrible for me, so I'm actually going to reroll the stats. I said at the beginning of the video I wasn't really going to worry about this, but we'll just roll until we get at least 1 good epic stat. Epic stats can roll like between 1 and 3 for your item, so I got lucky and got 3 here. When I re-roll it, it might be 1, it might be 2. And if you get stuck with 1, you have to just keep rolling it till you find one you like, lock it in, and then when you roll it again, you're going to get a second epic stat, and you can keep repeating that till you have all of them. I'll try to show it off. So then we re-roll again. We got elite damage reduction, mana on kill, don't care about those. We got elite pin and max mana, don't care about those. Life on kill. So now it went down to 1. So if this was one I wanted, I would have to lock it in and then roll epic stats again, and it would give me new epic stats in addition to the one that's locked. We got attack speed, mana on kill. Yikes, we do not like any of these so far. Which there are a ton of different things it can roll, so that's why the epic stats are so expensive. Area damage reduction. Area damage reduction is fine for me. My previous helm, the only thing it had down there was damage to elites and life leech. So that's another way you can craft items, is basically look for epics that drop with stats that benefit your character and then craft the rest of it. But as far as legendaries go, there's a lot of different helm options, so I'm crafting this from the legendary side. Anyway, so we got our stats there. The area damage reduction is a good, like, it's nicely rolled, so I can either lock it in here, which I'll have to do at some point if I want to roll for a second and third good epic stat. So I'm gonna go ahead and lock that in. It feels a little bad because it costs like 3 Slorm lights. but that's fine. I want the area damage reduction, so I'm gonna lock that in. And then now when we reroll, I'll just go ahead and show it. When we reroll, we're going to keep the area damage reduction, but it's going to change the secondary stat. And we got raw damage. Raw damage is fine for the build, so I'll keep that as well. So we have two stats that we like. So now it's going to be trying to get these stats more perfect. So the reason why we rolled it this way is so we don't have to go in each of these and change the scores, because it's going to cost one of these in addition to a Slanderite of Fate. And the same is true for the rare ones and for the epic ones. So instead of trying to focus on one, I'm just going to reroll all the scores. This is also going to change the legendary effect. So yeah, it's just a lot cheaper than trying to change the legendary score with like an actual legendary Slormite. It's a little crazy. So what I'm basically going to do is try to get 18% on the legendary effect, and I'll lock in any really good rolls as I go through. So let's hit it once. We got 203 max life, 5% projectile damage reduction, 32 raw, and 17 max life. 32 raw could lock in, but I don't know if I'm going to keep the flat raw, so I will just leave it like this. I'm going to, well, I'll not lock it in. So I'm basically going to keep rolling until I get the 18%, or I get like some other good rolls. 225, 4.5, 14%, 243, 4, 28, 16, 234, 5.5, 34, 261. I'm gonna get higher on the life. All right, so we got the legendary effect to max. Our epic stat is 35, so that's pretty decent. And now our magic stat is kind of middle of the road, and our rare stat is also middle of the road. So now I'm going to target change these scores because I just didn't get lucky basically. So I'm gonna change them now and force my luck. 248, I kind of want like 270 plus. 265. Alright, 283, very nice there. And then this one I want perfect, so I'm looking for that 6%. Please change. Okay. Alright, and there we go. So we have basically, not perfect stats, but we're basically done with the item as far as stats go. There's also some other stats down here we can add. We have Reaper stat, Mastery stat, Attribute stat. So I'm basically going to be copying what I had before, because that just kind of works with my character. A lot of people don't know about these stats. So there's the Slorm Reaper stat, the Mastery stat, which is like your actual skills, and the Savagery stat, which is your attributes. So basically I am using the most powerful sword, which is Sword by Asteros, as you can see in the top couple lines. So I want to get the Asteros Slorm Reaper. Depending on your Slorm Reaper, you're going to want a different stat. So I'm going to add a Reaper stat here. I didn't get the one I wanted, so I'm going to reforge it until I get the one I want. Alright, there we go. So it rolls 1 to 5. I'm going to change the score. There's no way to lock in these values, so these can always be changed if you change your Reaper or you change your build to where you're using different skill. So I went 5 there because I always want that plus 55 at the end, because you have 11 items, you can get 5 on each, and get plus 55 levels on your Reaper, which is pretty crazy. And then Mastery stat, I'm also going to add a Mastery stat. Banners of War is not my main skill. I'm using Whirlwind, so I'm going to reroll until I find Whirlwind. I'm also doing this for every piece of gear, so that would be plus 22 levels on your Whirlwind, which is very good for damage, because as you increase the Mastery level, you get more and more base damage. I'm also going to add a Mastery stat. There's probably a couple I could use here, just the way I have my attributes. So let's see. Nope. Okay, so I already have 2 or 3 in Fury, so that's done, and then I have the rest over here. This is how you can get some of these really big boy talents. And then just to show off the attributes while I'm here, you can go to Whirlwind. I normally have a Mastery of 7 because I just switched to it. I was using Sweep before, which got up to 13. 15 is the max, so the max plus the additional will bring you up to 37, which is going to increase this base damage by a lot. Currently I'm at 29, so you can see how good that is. And let's just go ahead and change the attribute stats. So I'm basically locked in to where I need Savagery, so I'm just going to keep changing until I get Savagery. Try to. It's rolling everything but Savagery. Okay, dude. Oh my god, there it is. Alright, savagery, it's already a 3, so it had a little bit of mercy on me. So that item is basically done. It isn't reinforced, which reinforces another very important thing to do in the game. The rest of it is crafted, so we got some extra health for the multiplier. But our current helm was a epic deflective siege helmet of life +8. So I kind of want to get this one at least to +5. I think +5 is pretty cheap to do. So I'll just kind of show it off. So normally you have to wear the item, you get your potential to 100, and then I would put in a tier 0, and it would give me 100% chance to, increase. So in this case, I have a 0, and I want to go to 1, so I'm putting in a tier 1. When I put it in, I get 25%, but I have so many of these, I don't care that it's only 25%, so I'm just going to keep doing it until I get it. I just happen to get it on the first one. That's fine. I'm going to do the same here. And as you see, as I reinforce it, I'm getting more and more HP, armor, max life, projectile damage reduction, area damage reduction, raw damage. So all of that is very nice. And it also increases the legendary multiplier as well. So we've gone up to 20% from 18, and it keeps your max rolls. So that's why we've went ahead and upgraded the item level first and made sure these rolls were really good. So as we upgrade them, they continue to be basically the best rolls that the item can have. So that's tier 2. Gonna add in tier 3. Oops. Put in the whole stack. So it's just gonna use one at a time, but there we go. Tier 3. Gonna go up to tier 4. And I'll show you what you can do if you want to increase the chances. Alright, so we actually hit the 4% double reinforce there, so that was pretty nice. And that brings us up to 5. Right, we've got to use 6 here. So if you want to keep doing what I'm doing, but you don't have a lot of these Slorm lines, you can actually use this here, Slormandite of negation. So it has a reinforce effect. The Slormite will not be consumed if the reinforcement fails. So basically I can spend one of these for a 25% chance to get it. Well, I got it anyway, but at worst it wouldn't have used up my Slorm line. So this was a tier 7, so I'm also going to want to keep those. And since it was critical, it got a little extra potential, which helps the percentage. So it's 45 instead of 25 this time, but it still failed. But I kept my Slormite. So I'll put in another one. I'll just keep putting in other ones until I get a success. So 1 and 4, but I'm getting unlucky here. There we go. T7. And I'll just keep going. We'll get T8, which will completely replace this one with T8. So we'll just do one more, just to show it off. And I guess one other thing to note is you could put in these here, which gives you a higher chance for double reinforce. So as you get higher, like I only have a few of these 10s and these 11s, if I got my piece of gear to 10 and I wanted to bring it to 12, I would try to get a double reinforce here. And what I would do is I would put in items like this, which is going to give me a high double reinforce chance. I just put all of them in, but you really just need, a couple just to get to 100, right? So I got to 100 there. And then there's this other one that gives you a reinforced value of minus failure chance. So we currently have 57 failure chance, so I need to put in 57 of these if I wanted a 100% chance to double reinforce, right? So we put all that in, and I'd have to use a better stone because I'm using a lower one. But eventually I will be done upgrading this for now, and I'll put in a higher. You can always put in higher stones too, right? And that's going to increase your chance. I have 50% chance there. If I put in this one, I have 100% chance. But what I would do is get it to like +8 or +9. That's kind of what I'm doing with this one. I'm actually leveling up the gear, getting that potential high. When the potential is high, and I use a tier of the appropriate level, then it's actually going to give me a 100% chance. And then I'll add in these to get a double reinforced chance, and then add in these to minus the failure chance, so I don't fail and I get that 100% chance. There's a couple other items you can put in, but that's the gist of what these do. Like this one gives you a higher chance at critical reinforcement and the critical potential. This one gives you reinforced chance, critical potential, double reinforced chance, but also failure chance. So you can use a lot of these in different combinations. These here give you plus 10% chance to reforge legendary equipment. This one the same, but for epic, rare, magic, and normal. So depending on what you're crafting, how rich you are, or whatever, you can always use these to your advantage. So anyway, getting my item back up to T8, I'm just going to go with the 25% chance here and basically get rid of some of these Slormandite of negotiation instead. Also, again, if you run out of these, you can go to the blacksmith and craft them more. You don't have to go out into the world and find them. You can just craft them, but they do drop pretty often, so it's not that big of a deal. And I'm getting completely robbed by this 25% chance. There we go. So we got up to a +8, so now we can look at the item. So remember the original item was very low armor, very low flat HP, very low magic stat HP. It was like 6% projectile damage reduction, now it's 13. Area damage was like 2.5, I believe, now it's 7.5. And the max life multiplier was 18%, now it is 26%. So if we now compare our old helm to our new helm, they're both +8. So old helm we had 9.850, and now we have 12.4. So we gained a lot of extra life. As we keep reinforcing it, we're just going to get more and more life. So +8 isn't even that high. You can actually look at the blacksmith here, and you can keep combining stones all the way up to 14 at this point in early access. So once I got a tier 14 item and I was using a 14 Slormandite, I would make sure I was going to double reinforce, so I'd go all the way up to 16, and then from there, yeah, you might have to change up some strategies to go to, you know, 17, 18. But anyway, that's crafting. Basically, in a nutshell, everything there's to know. The only other thing you could do is go from a common item up to a legendary. Do the same thing I did, but backwards. So if you're like leveling a character and you're doing crafting at the same time, you can just keep leveling up your item, roll your stats. When you get to max level, make it max item level, add a legendary effect, all that kind of stuff. Just keep re-rolling. So just one thing to know is like any item can be your perfect item for that slot eventually with enough crafting. So I usually hang on to epic stats that drop and are like pretty good just because they're pretty expensive. You can look for legendaries that already have magic and rare stats and they drop. You can try to craft off of those. There's lots of different ways to craft in this game. But this is basically the ins and outs of it. So hope you guys enjoyed. Yeah, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.